Hello, my name is Monica Galindo, and I will be presenting on social power as well as other topics, including alpha dog and some analysis of different types of workers at my current organization that fit all these type of characteristics. So, to start off, social power. So it's a concept that is defined by several different powers. There's actually a total of five of them, and each one means something in the way that, the person demonstrates this type of power. So first of all, we have legitimate power, which is basically, you're appointed to the position, and you have authority because you have that position. Then we have coercive power, which is basically the ability and authority to punish people. So this can also a lot of these powers can be actually intermixed depending on the position that the person has. Then we have reward power, which is basically it gives people, this person will give people things, or they might take those certain things away as well. Um, the fourth type of power is actually expert power, which I believe this one and the next one that I'm going to mention are more influential per se. So expert power really is influencing through sharing knowledge, information, or expertise. And then lastly, we have the referent power, which this type of power influences other people through charisma and personal acceptance. So these social powers were actually made or classified by John French and Bertrand Raven. They're the ones to first talk about them. So some examples that these powers, possess. So we have first our formal power, which again, these are just more, they were kind of appointed to, and they're formal in the sense that that's what the job duty entails. So, going back to legitimate power, so basically, the higher the position, the more power that person has. If you were to remove the position from that person, the power will actually be stripped away as well. So, for this type of power, legitimate power, subordinates are influenced to listen to them because of their position and not so much because of the personal individual. Some examples for coercive power. Someone that will make you lose your job, for you to get a demotion, get, a poor review in your evaluations. So with this, if this person has coercive power, they're basically gonna set the high expectations as responsibilities. So just being a good overall worker, so you don't lose something. And then we have a type of example for reward is, many of us have probably seen them time and time again, but a person that gives a bonus, that gives the employee raises, promotions. It's basically positive reinforcement to get incentivized. So that's one way that the person will allow their employees to want to follow them. And then we have our personal power, which is, like I said, I feel they're probably the most influential just because it comes from within. So we have expert power. Basically, it gives respect and trusts your insights, since that person knows the field. So anything from training, and eventually they want you. If they're training you, they want you to be an expert just as well. So, you're going to give back in terms of knowledge and expertise for that person to succeed. And then we have referent power, which, an example for this is, people are going to respect how that person handles the situation. So, an example could be like an HR associate that, they will ensure that employees are treated fairly and will fight for their employees. So, with reference power, with it being, influenced through charisma and personal acceptance, that's another way that people can have followers, behind them. So these social powers can then transfer on to the differences of a dominant type of work. So with this whole module, we talked about social power and alpha dog concepts, which alpha dog, I'll go into in a bit, but they basically say it's sort of like a dominant type. So at my work, the person that I would say is a dominant type would be the dean of admissions, which is where I work at a medical school. And so I once, doing research on the type of dominant person, characteristics, personality, and such. Some of the characteristics that kept popping up were three main ones, which was goal oriented, decisive, and competitive. These three characteristics show a dominant type of person. So, with goal oriented, this actually exerts the type of expert power. So, a dominant person being goal oriented shows more of the expert power, which again is because of their goals, they have their goals, and then they'll show people how to get there so they can help them achieve those goals. And then we have decisive as another characteristics. This one is really in part of all social powers. It will use most of them, because in every single power there will be a decision to be made. For example, as having legitimate power, that person is appointed to that position, so obviously um, they have the ability to make the type of decisions that they need to. And another one, for example, reward power. They're in the position to say what type of reward that person will get. So it's a little of everything. And then for competitive, the other characteristic, this one shows more of the personal power, which is expert and referent power. So going back to the dean of admissions, once she started working in the office, the past, she started 3 years ago. She showed all these characteristics. She came in very goal oriented. She had this new strategic plan in mind for the office. She was very decisive in terms of like, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to get there. And she was also competitive. She gave every single one of us a task, and she was like, in terms of competitiveness, to finish and do well. So basically, she is a person that sees the big picture. She likes challenging tasks. Obviously, seeing tangible results will be something that a dominant type person will see. And this is the dean at our school is that type. When we get statistic reports and things like that, she'll know if whatever the goal was has been met through that. And also taking risks, just allowing to use the resources in order to try and achieve that goal. And then lastly, we have the alpha dog concept. And so this concept was originally seen with the pack of wolves, when people talk about an alpha dog. And so what was seen was that there was one wolf that became the dominant one. He was the one that, wanted to eat and meet their needs first. So this is where I guess the phrase of being dominant comes from. So the going to an actual alpha dog person, not the animal. The alpha dog will be a leader or authority in a group, so they will drive consistent high value performance for the organization. And they basically they'll do that through the energy and the characteristics that I mentioned with like our dean, and obviously the social powers. But basically an alpha dog will be on the same frequency as the organization, and they will know their personal truths. Thank you.